So there's a lot at stake. I think this election has an enormous amount at stake with this fiscal cliff. But again, I don't see the fiscal cliff resolved until at the earliest after the inauguration, maybe even past that before we know for sure. Now, some people say to me, well, the election will be cathartic, right? The election will decide everything. We'll get a message from the voters, and then we can move quickly. Well, as we move to the election, let me just tell you, I think there's a decent chance that the gridlock and dysfunction could increase after this election. This election is going to be so close, I would argue maybe as close as the year 2000, hopefully without hanging chads. But I think this election is going to be so close, it's very difficult for me to get up here and be optimistic that, oh, we're going to get all our problems solved, we're going to get rid of all this, this gridlock. So let me talk a bit about the election. And again, I'm on the 50-yard line. I don't work for either candidate. I'm not, an advocate of either candidate. I said all during the spring that I thought Romney was the favorite. People were surprised to hear me say that because it wasn't obvious, but I thought he really adroitly unified the party after a nasty primary season. He got beaten up pretty good by Newt and Santorum, but here we were by Memorial Day with the party solidly behind him, with no threat of a third-party challenge from Ron Paul and the Libertarians, no threat of a third-party challenge from Santorum and the Social Conservatives. And this is for a guy who was a pretty moderate ex-governor of Massachusetts. He was able to unify the party, and I thought he got off to a very, very good start. And I thought Obama had a terrible spring, a couple of big gaffes, just looking tone deaf. Well, here we are now on August 8th, and things have changed. And within political circles, there is great puzzlement at why Romney didn't react more aggressively to what happened in June and July. In June and July, the Obama campaign decided to go for broke, to spend a lot of their available cash with just a ruthless negative ad campaign. And their attitude is that we want to define him before he defines him. And that's key in a presidential race when there's a fairly new candidate. Most Americans don't know that much about Mitt Romney. And what this negative ad campaign did was dramatically raise Romney's negatives. So an awful lot of people think he's like Gordon Gekko, or never paid his taxes. I think the Harry Reid charges, some of us in this room are old enough to remember Joe McCarthy. I think the Harry Reid charges have done real damage to Romney. And all of a sudden, in several battleground states, probably including this one, Obama has a slight lead. And so I think the strategy of going fiercely negative probably has worked for him. I think, though, with the economy still looking weak, this is still a very winnable election for Romney. And while I would say that Obama is the slight favorite right now, I think if the economic data continue to come in on the soft side, and Romney finally is going on the offensive, this welfare ad, I'm not sure how accurate it is, but accuracy is one of the first casualties of any campaign. So there's no virgins in this campaign, believe me. So I think Romney finally is going on the offensive, and he gets to change the subject in the next few days. I'm picking Monday or Tuesday as the day he announces his running mate. There's a huge fight going on within the Republican Party right now over whether Romney should be safe or bold. If he's safe, I think it's obviously Portman or Pawlenty. I think that they would not do any harm. They're solid, they're qualified, especially Portman if you look at his resume, but it doesn't really get the base excited. If he wants to be bold, he goes with Paul Ryan. And more people are urging him to make a bolder choice. The feeling is that Ryan could help you get the 10 votes in Wisconsin. Maybe Portman couldn't help you get the 18 votes in Ohio. Certainly Pawlenty would have a hard time getting the 10 votes in a liberal state like Minnesota. So more and more people are talking up Ryan. I don't see anyone else, Jindal, there's a few other names, Christie. I think it's down to those three. And this will be a litmus test for Romney, whether he wants to go bold or whether he wants to go safe. I will tell you this, that most of the Democrats I talked to off the record say they would salivate to get the chance to put Ryan on the ticket, that they would run against him as a part of the congressional establishment, which is responsible for all the gridlock, and somebody who would decimate Medicare and the safety net. I am keenly aware of what demagoguery can do, and I'm keenly aware that my mother, who is 88 years old, is terrified of Paul Ryan. And I just saw her. She had her birthday this last weekend. And she said, oh, this guy Ryan, he's going to kill Medicare. I said, Mom, you're 88 years old. His plan would affect people under the age of 55. That's quite clear. Ryan has been explicit that it wouldn't affect anyone over the age of 55. She won't hear of it. She is convinced that he is the devil who will kill all social programs. So that's the risk. I mean, I personally think if we want to talk about fundamental issues that have to be addressed in this country, that who better than Ryan? Could you imagine a debate between Joe Biden and Ryan? I would pay good money. I would get there early to see that debate. The other reason why I think the election is still winnable for Romney is the debates themselves. And as I point out to all my friends, I watched all 20 of the Republican debates. And in watching them, I came away thinking, Romney's not bad. You know, he debates well. He has a good grasp of facts. He's quick. He has some charm. He has some humor. And I think he may show up for the debates with this caricature that Saturday Night Live has foisted on us, that he's some stiff white guy. And he might surprise people in the debates. Bush did in the first debate that he had. And I think this could happen as well for Romney. So I think the debates could be a defining moment as well. At the end of the day, there are two reasons why I have to say Obama is the favorite. The first is the Electoral College map. And if you get out the map every couple of weeks on an airplane flight, I get out the map, it's a little easier for Obama because he starts with about 230 that everyone agrees he's got. You need 270. Well, you know, if you add to New York, California, you can get to 230 for him pretty easily. Well, if you add Pennsylvania, 20, which I think he'll win, if you add Michigan, a couple of other states, he's awful close to 270. Romney has to win Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, and Ohio. I think he has to win all four. It's doable, but he has less margin of error, whereas Obama can lose at least 3 of those 4 states and still win. The other big factor that I think is obviously, I think, the key of all is the Hispanic vote. Last time, Obama got 67% of the Hispanic vote against McCain. I've talked to people at the White House who think they can get over 70% of the Hispanic vote. And when I watched all 20 of those debates, I kept saying to myself, do they want to anger every Hispanic voter in America? The rhetoric they had on immigration was a turnoff to most Hispanics. Herman Cain said, I want an electrified fence. I'm thinking someone's going to say, we want an electrified fence with a moat and alligators. So all you did was just turn off Hispanic voters. And the idea that Marco Rubio could turn that around, I think, is far-fetched. Cuban Americans and Mexican Americans don't like each other. So I'm not sure Rubio would make that big a difference. And I think that at 5 a.m., after a lot of caffeine on election night, we may see that Colorado, 9 votes, Nevada, 6 votes, heavily Hispanic states, might make the difference in a very, very close election. I don't think anybody's going to get much over 285. It's going to be that close. But I think at least right now, most people don't like to hear it. That's why I said don't shoot the messenger. But I think right now Obama has a slight lead, emphasis on the word slight. Now, why did I say a few minutes ago that we're going to get even worse gridlock? Well, I think it's because you're going to have the Republicans getting even stronger in Congress. The House is an easy call. 25 is the magic number. The Democrats aren't going to come close to 25. They might get 6 or 8. Redistricting in California has helped them a little. But there's no question in my mind that Boehner will be Speaker of the House for 2 more years before Eric Cantor starts putting banana peels under his feet. Eric Cantor being perhaps the most ruthlessly ambitious politician I've seen in my career, or right up there in the top 10. But the House will stay very conservative, no question about that. The more interesting story is the Senate, where the magic number would be 4 if Obama wins, 3 if the Republicans win, because 50-50 tie would come into play. The interesting aspect here is that of the 33 Senate seats up, 23 are held by Democrats. Only 10 are held by Republicans. And I tell you, I can only find 1 of the 10 Republican seats that looks likely to fall, and that's in Maine, where Olympia Snowe is stepping down, and her successor is probably going to caucus with the Democrats. Otherwise, I think the Republicans are in pretty good shape. I think Scott Brown, will come back and beat the Native American, Elizabeth Warren. I think that all the other seats are pretty safe. Of the 23 seats held by the Democrats, at least 8 or 9 look really shaky. I was in Missouri last week. I think Claire McCaskill is going to lose. The Republican primary was last night. I think Tester may lose in Montana. The Kent Conrad seat in North Dakota, I could go on and on and on. I don't see Sherrod Brown losing. I'd be surprised if Sherrod Brown lost. Could happen if it's a wave election. I don't see a wave election right now. But I think the Democrats could easily lose 4 or 5 of their seats and give the Republicans the majority in the Senate, along with clearly a majority in the House. Now, for Mitch McConnell, it's a blessing and a curse, because he's going to get more Republicans no matter what. But several of them are going to be Tea Party Republicans, including the new guy from Texas who won last week, Ted Cruz. Very impressive guy. As more and more people are saying, watch out, Marco Rubio, there's a new Hispanic star in the Republican Party. Ted Cruz is really very impressive. But you've got him, you've got the guy who beat Lugar in Indiana, you've got the woman who's clearly going to win in Nebraska, who's a Tea Party Republican. I don't think Bob Kerrey can go from Greenwich Village to Nebraska and win. So you've got several Tea Party types coming into the Senate, and that reinforces my view that the gridlock probably will persist. Well, how could the gridlock maybe be alleviated? And here's where I have to be careful not to let my personal opinions come out. But I would have to say, if Romney won the election and both houses were Republican, that would really significantly ease this gridlock that we've had for the last 3 or 4 years. Without saying, that I'm going to vote for him or support him, I think you could look at a very nice stretch in 2013 where you got a lot of stuff done. You'd get some certainty on taxes. You'd get some more spending cuts. You might get at least tinkering with Obamacare. I'm not sure they can kill the whole thing. But it would be a climate that I think the markets would like. And I can't ignore this. This is like the elephant in the room. I've been doing this for a long time, and as I travel around America, I am struck that in my profession, professional money managers, I deal with all the big money managers in the country. I'd say it's 80-20 for Romney. I've never seen anything like this in my career. 4 years ago, it was pretty close to 50-50. I think people were tired of Bush. But this time, there's an overwhelming feeling in our industry that this guy would be better for the economy. And the polls show that. The public feels he'd be better for the economy. So there's a difference here. There's a lot at stake as we go into this election, whether we have a lot more gridlock or maybe we get things done. Being cautious, I would say that if Obama does win as a slight favorite, we're looking at another 4 years of gridlock with confusion on the economy.